سلام بچه‌ها، امروز حالتون چطوره؟ خب این هم دومین ویدیویی که بهتون وعده داده بودم برای 7 درس اول 504 لغات ضروری که برای امتحان بتونین خودتون رو آماده بکنید. قبل از اینکه دوباره بریم سراغ این ویدیو، لطفاً ساب، لایک و کامنت یادتون نره و چنلم رو به دوستاتون معرفی کنید. همونطور که توی ویدیوی قبلی هم بهتون گفتم، قراره یه سری تغییرات رو بهتون بگم که توی ویدیوی قبلی کامل این تغییرات رو براتون بیان نکردم. یه تغییر دیگه که قراره توی چنلمون اتفاق بیفته این هستش که بعد از هر فصل لغات 504 که تموم میشه، یک سری لغات که یک هم خانواده هستن، مثل رنگ‌ها، مثل لباس‌ها، مثل اعضای بدن، کشورها و هر چیز دیگه‌ای که توی یک گروه قرار میگیرن رو براتون قرار میدم و برای اون هم 1 یا 2 روز استراحت میذارم تا کسانی که اومدن و در واقع دارن اون فیلم ها رو نگاه میکنن بتونن ازش استفاده بکنن. و یه موضوع دیگه این که من قرار بود قبل ویدیو هم صحبت نکنم و این رو توی معرفی چنل در واقع چنلمون گفته بودم، ولی اومدم نگاه کردم دیدم خب شاید یه عده‌ای تازه وارد چنل میشن و برای اینکه حالا بیان برن اولین ویدیوی چنل رو نگاه کنن که ببینن که چی گفته شده، اصلا موضوع چنل چی هستش، براشون سخت میشه. بنابراین قبل از هر ویدیو یه متنی رو به صورت شاید تکراری، شاید متفاوت، شاید یکسان براتون بیان بکنم، حالا با توجه به اون نوع در واقع ویدیویی که براتون بارگذاری میشه، تا کسایی هم که برای دفعه اول وارد چنل میشن کاملا با چنل آشنا بشن و در صورتی که خواستن توی چنل بمونن. بنابراین به این نتیجه رسیدم که از این به بعد قبل از در واقع فیلم هایی که براتون آپلود میشه صحبت بکنم، قبل از اینکه فیلم آموزش رو بخوایم ببینید. این هم موضوعی که میخواستم خدمتتون بگم. یه موضوع دیگه‌ای که وجود داره این هستش که ما در واقع امکان داره که مثلا خیلی‌ها بگن که خب چرا چنل زبان انگلیسی، یادگیری زبان انگلیسی، به جای اینکه اون کسی که داره به ما آموزش میده بیاد به زبان انگلیسی صحبت بکنه، داره به زبان فارسی صحبت میکنه. 3 تا دلیل اینجا وجود داره. یکی اینکه آموزش ما مجازی هستش و آموزش رو در رو نیستش که من انگلیسی صحبت بکنم که در جایی که شما متوجه نشدید منظور من از اون حرف چیه بتونم به راحتی از کنارش بگذرم و شما بخواید بهم بگین که ما اینجا رو متوجه نشدیم، وایسا بهمون مجدد بگو و من حالا با استفاده از معنی‌های مختلف شما رو به اون منظور برسونم. و اکثر پیج ها و چنل ها رو اگه بخواید نگاه بکنید هم به همین صورت هستش، یعنی میان به زبان فارسی یا اونایی که انگلیسی زبانن به زبان انگلیسی، اونایی که حالا مثلا هر زبان خاص خودشون رو دارن به زبان مادری خودشون یک سری آموزش ها رو میذارن، به خاطر اینکه آموزش کاملا مجازیه و شما رو در رو کسی رو نمیبینید و امکان داره که توی اون لحظه تلفظ اشتباه افتاده باشه توی صداتون و یا اینکه حالا هر اتفاق دیگه‌ای توی وایستون افتاده باشه و این باعث بشه که اون مفهوم به طور کامل به شخص مورد نظر نرسه. دومی این که سطحتون مشخص نیست. یکی ممکنه لول بالا باشه، حالا مثلا لغات 504 رو فقط نیاز داشته باشه که یک سری لغات آشنا بشه، یه سری ممکنن که نه سطحشون خیلی پایین باشه، لول خیلی پایین باشن. دانش آموز داریم، دانشجو داریم، کارمند داریم، خانه‌دار داریم و انواع اقسام و رنج های مختلف سنی که از این ویدیو استفاده میکنم. بنابراین برای اینکه همه رو در نظر بگیریم میام این کارو میکنم که به زبان فارسی توضیح میدم. و مورد سومی که وجود داره این هستش که من لهجه خودم رو و تلفظهای خودم رو قاطی فیلم نمی کنم، چون ما گفتیم از اولش که میخوایم با همدیگه با فیلم پیش بریم. خب وقتی که یه لهجه انگلیسی، حالا آمریکایی یا انگلیسی داریم، نباید لهجه خودمون رو قاطیش بکنیم. پس در نتیجه من اصلا اون رو کنار میذارم، تلفظهای اولیه‌ام رو خیلی ساده و ابتدایی براتون قرار میدم. شما اون تلفظا رو گوش میدین توی هر سطحی که هستیم. فیلم ها رو که نگاه میکنین میرین توی سطح پیشرفته، یعنی چون فیلم ها در واقع کاملا به زبان مادری هستش و خیلی این موضوع اهمیت داره که شما بعد اینکه هر فیلم رو دیدین، من توی ویدیوی قبلی هم گفتم حتما تکرار بکنین، یه لحظه ویدیو رو نگه دارین و تکرار بکنید. این هم از موضوع سوم که میخواستم بهتون بگم. حالا دیگه صحبتمون رو خیلی طولانی نمی کنیم، بریم که این 4 تا درس باقی مونده لغات 504 فصل اول رو با هم دیگه ببینیم. لغاتش رو یاد بگیرید. اگه درس رو از دست دادید اینجا میتونید جمع‌بندی کاملمون رو نگاه بکنید و بعد هم دیگه برای فردا شروع بکنیم به اینکه آزمونش رو براتون بارگذاری بکنیم که جوابها هم داخل آزمون قرار گرفته شده و شما میتونید یه خودآزمایی از خودتون بگیرید و ببینید که به چه سطحی رسیدید. بریم که شروع بکنیم. لایک، کامنت و ساب یادتون نره، حمایت هم کنید و چنلم رو به دوستاتون معرفی کنید. ممنون.
vapor, 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 vapor.
Thus the vapor of human experience into a viable and logical comprehension.
You smell like Vicks medicated vapor rub.
My God, he must be flying on vapor.
To everyone here who matters, you're vapor.
Eliminate, 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 eliminate,
To eliminate rebellion in this colony.
Eliminate the American conspirators.
The first step towards changing our status is to eliminate this difference between us.
But you will not eliminate laughter by eliminating that book.
villain, 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 villain.
You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Nay, not so, villain, thou beliest thyself.
The lady is dead upon mine and my master's false accusation, and briefly, I desire nothing but the reward of a villain.
If I do not take pity on her, I'm a villain.
In this, though I cannot be said to be a flattering, honest man, it must not be denied, but I am a plain-dealing villain.
Dance, 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 dance.
Samantha, this physics book is really dense.
Tough skin, dense bones.
I'm sorry. I'm dense sometimes.
If it's a perfect sphere, then it can collapse and become infinitely dense, so dense that everything is pulled down into nothing.
She's just kind of, terminally dead.
Utilize, 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 utilize.
Soldiers utilize crops.
But I think it's contemptuous to utilize that fact in order to achieve something.
How does anything so simple utilize energy for growth?
Well, because, she'd be an essential, integral asset, for our team, for us to, utilize.
Crude oil can be shipped via mammoth super tankers in order to better utilize our country's vast supplies of yet untapped natural resources.
Humid, 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 humid.
Never gets too hot, too cold, too humid.
Hotter, very humid.
And no woman captured humid passion on the page quite like Charlotte Bronte.
It was so human.
Theory, 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 theory.
Superstring theory, chaos math, advanced algorithm.
That's a wonderful theory, Sean.
Seemed he had no theory with which to explain a moment like this. That's your theory?
Yeah. I've been developing a theory.
Descend, 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 descend.
Should I discover a lapse of any variety during my absence, I promise swift and merciless justice will descend upon you.
We will hide within our walls,
live our lives away from the light, and let darkness descend.
He will descend into what is low and unbecoming.
A nation, an assembly of nations shall descend from you.
I believe they descend with the lightning, but I believe they are on the ground and are projected downward by the bolt.
Circulate, circulate, circulate.
We gotta circulate this on radio.
People want to meet you. You've got to circulate. You're the artist.
I'll circulate photos to each of you after the meeting.
The controversy surrounding the Ministry of Defense has escalated today as images of the Hussein assassination continue to circulate.
Very well, I will circulate it. No, Sergeant.
Enormous, 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 enormous.
The excavation is enormous.
But pizza. Now, pizza, I have enormous respect for.
Sir, I just want to say that we're both, on a personal level, really enormous fans.
For the Fremen, spice is the sacred hallucinogen which preserves life and brings enormous health benefits.
That's correct. The show has generated enormous revenues now equivalent to the gross national product of a small country.
Predict, 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 predict.
Forecasters predict more snow and heavy winds tonight and tomorrow, with temperatures dropping well below zero.
It's impossible for me to predict that. You put on a news show, and here's somebody who can predict tomorrow's news for you.
Zola's algorithm evaluates people's past to predict their future.
Anyway, we can't predict the exact future.
Banish, 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 banish.
Then a whisper, and it would vanish. It was so fragile.
Let's vanish.
And those who confess to the anger vanish.
I would vanish in disbelief.
When we are loved, we are afraid.
Tradition, 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 tradition.
He was from a long, great military tradition.
As long as we hold true to that tradition.
A disrespect for the Baird tradition.
Remember a little tradition I have?
Rural, 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 rural.
Your predecessor assumed that rural policing was easy.
He owns a resort in rural Georgia for investment purposes.
Rural Route 3, Chester, Missouri. Where is that?
I'm looking forward to seeing this rural paradise the two of you have inherited.
What rules of conduct apply in this rural...
Burden, 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 burden.
The ring is my burden.
I'm sorry that you must carry this burden.
It is a burden you should never have had to bear.
Please. It's such a burden.
Do not burden yourself with treasures.
Campus, 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 campus.
No colored bathrooms in this building, or any building outside the West Campus, which is half a mile away.
Campus Street Car Wash.
Date with the finest girl on campus, and you blow it for Julie.
That first afternoon, he introduced himself on campus. He asked to borrow my notes.
This year we're going to grab the bull by the balls and kick those...
Majority, 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 majority.
if we had a vote and let majority rule?
My dear Jinnah, the Muslims are in a majority on two different sides of the country.
Where there is a Muslim majority, that will be Pakistan.
Consider the minority opinion, but try to get along with the majority of opinion once it's accepted.
It was a majority decision.
Assemble. 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 Assemble.
Troop carriers will assemble at the north entrance.
You're welcome! Assemble on me.
Assemble the men.
I mean, if you can do it, can you assemble 1,000 people in an hour?
And when you got a star like Bruce, it takes no effort to assemble a great dais.
Explore. 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 Explore.
There's really nothing left to explore.
See some of the world. Explore. We could explore those a little.
On top of that, you explore the notion that cop and criminal are really two aspects of the same person.
I'll explore.
Topic. 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 Topic.
Cannot bring up a conversation topic if neither of you is interested.
I can't even find a topic for my doctorate.
What's the topic for tonight?
But when you got that for me, we can continue on this topic.
Tonight, Leonard Zelig has become the main topic of conversation everywhere and is discussed with amusement and wonder.
Debate. 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 Debate.
We have a select group to debate the issue.
There's been hardly any debate at all.
I'm not going to sit here and debate.
Things certainly got hot last night in their final debate before next Tuesday's election.
I had a little debate with my instructor on the issue of relativistic physics.
Evade. Evade. Evade.
If your enemy is superior, evade him.
Will they evade the rules of law and logic like they did in Las Vegas?
The fueling was broken off and the fleet began to maneuver to evade the storm.
Fired a barrage of shots at them, and they were able to evade all the bullets.
Now you ask me to help you evade justice.
Probe. Probe.
Thousands of probe droids searching the galaxy.
Her resistance to the mind probe is considerable.
Now, we finished the Iris probe in 62 days.
So now I have to hold out until the probe gets here with more food.
It actually only takes 3 days to mount the probe.
We have thousands of probe droids searching the galaxy.
Her resistance to the mind probe is considerable.
Now, we finished the...
Reform. 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 Reform.
Edie, I don't buy that reform story for a minute.
And you've shown a genuine desire to reform.
The emperor before me was murdered because he wanted to reform the empire.
What did you want to reform?
I heard he's going to reform school.
Approach. 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 Approach.
Luke, I have no approach vector. I'm not set.
The approach will not be easy.
Our intention was to approach you after your apprehension in New York.
Then its enemies will approach, and yet it will lie quite still.
We need a new approach.
Detect. 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 Detect.
Do I detect a rebuke?
Do I detect a hint of musk with a floral top note?
And you need thought to detect stuff sometimes, Jason.
Which is why I've been able to detect an undercurrent of sarcasm in your voice.
You know, I detect a fragrance in the air.
Defect. 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 Defect.
Or rather say the cause of this defect. For this effect, defective, comes by cause.
Jonathan says it is a defect of the aristocracy that they say what they please.
He heard the words birth defect and he disappeared.
Each one carries the same genetic defect.
And if I inherited the defect, why don't I have the disease? Employee. 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 Employee.
You'd be placed in the custody of the FBI, where you'd serve out the remainder of your sentence as an employee of the federal government.
Employing the son of my employee at an exorbitant wage.
I can't jeopardize my company's success to retain an untrustworthy employee.
There is no better way to achieve job security than by making yourself an indispensable employee.
An employee of Ray's Music Exchange must be present.
Neglect. 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 Neglect.
You don't want to neglect your chores.
I won't. What infinite heart's ease must kings neglect that private men enjoy?
Mostly I'm treated with a kind of a mild neglect, as if I were a stray dog or an unwelcome guest.
He has offered his most handsome apologies for any former appearance of neglect in his duties towards us.
If you neglect to make me a proposal, my uncle will go mad.
Deceive. 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 Deceive.
Your eyes can deceive you. Don't trust them.
But these senators scheme and squabble and flatter and deceive.
Oh, let not time deceive you.
Major Lord Kitchener's order only applied if they were wearing khaki with an intention to deceive.
You would turn to God instead of your generals. You would hear him say, deceive not.
Undoubtedly. 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 Undoubtedly.
I can't imagine what you saw out there, but undoubtedly it's some pretty horrific stuff.
But, General, he undoubtedly planned the German battle.
Whatever it is that has been seen, it is undoubtedly something.
And it undoubtedly would have been.
Popular. 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 Popular.
It was a very popular tune in its day.
I bet you're very popular with the girls.
Oh, I thought we were the popular front.
He's going to be very popular. Of course he's popular. Who wouldn't be popular?
Thorough. 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 Thorough.
I had him checked out real thorough. Where's the money?
At the request of Neil's family, I intend to conduct a thorough inquiry into this matter.
Huh? The financials are pretty thorough, so the only thing we don't know is your fee.
She must have a thorough knowledge of music, singing, drawing, dancing, and the modern languages to deserve the word.
You'll have to be very thorough.
Client. 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 Client.
Seriously, Kaden, if you keep this shit up, when I do pass the bar, you're gonna be my first client.
The closer you get to being a pro, the closer you can get to the client. The rifle is the first weapon you learn how to use, because it lets you keep your distance from the client.
My client would like to remind you two more are dead.
Don't play games with my client.
Comprehensive. Comprehensive.
A few days ago, I was presented with a report I'd asked for, a comprehensive audit, if you will, of our economic condition.
In the course of a comprehensive tour, Queen Elizabeth is seen here visiting a chocolate factory in the north of England.
We just received a comprehensive report.
A comprehensive plan is already in place.
We're running a comprehensive database.
Defraud. 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 Defraud.
Now, it's pretty clear that your client has attempted to defraud the county in a not very ingenious manner.
I'm attempting to defraud the Liberty Mutual insurance conglomerate out of $1 million.
You want me to take part in a scummy little plot to defraud your insurance company, is that it?
No, that's so stupid. It's like, we didn't defraud anybody. No.
People will go to great lengths to defraud an insurance carrier.
Postpone. 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 Postpone.
Postpone the operation until you have more experience.
Mr. President, I second the motion to postpone the vote on independence for a period of time sufficient for the writing of a declaration.
The motion to postpone has been moved and seconded.
All we could do was postpone it a little bit.
Consent. 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 Consent.
They've been doing all this gnarly shit to inmates in federal facilities without their consent.
Do consent?
No one leaves here but by the King's consent.
You did consent to marry him. He had witnesses.
There is still time to call it off by mutual consent with no loss of honor.
Massive. 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 Massive.
Massive life form readings, though.
He's doing massive psychological damage to me.
He's massive.
Massive video camera also aids the situation.
And it is the best indication of a man.
Capsule. Capsule. Capsule.
The capsule is turning around.
The capsule was rocking around a bit.
We do not refer to it as a capsule.
There could be a hatch with explosive bolts on the capsule.
These men are preparing themselves for the ordeal of capsule life.
Preserve. 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 Preserve.
I preserve it because I need it.
You'll stay home from the nature preserve trip.
2. Generate, disseminate, and preserve knowledge.
I especially like the part about throwing away temptation to preserve the soul.
Ice helps preserve the body.
Denounce. 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 Denounce.
And denounce what I believe to be what is wrong.
I don't suppose I can denounce you for half of it.
But do not denounce him without proof.
I denounce the system as I embrace it.
If you denounce me to the police, you will also be exposed and humiliated.
Unique. 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 Unique.
The delusional architecture is fairly unique.
Every bride is unique, and every gown has a secret.
God, it's pathetic the lengths like that progressives like her will go to feel unique.
Not that unique of a thing to say.
But you must trust that your beliefs are unique, your own.
Torrent. 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 Torrent.
Roared, and we did buffet it with lusty sinews, throwing it aside and stemming it with hearts of controversy. The torrent roared, and we did buffet it with lusty sinews, throwing it aside and stemming it with hearts of controversy.
I became conscious that a steady torrent of obscenities and swearing of all kinds was pouring out of me as I screamed.
My mind is a raging torrent, flooded with rivulets of thought, cascading into a waterfall of creative alternatives. My mind is a raging torrent, flooded with rivulets of thought, cascading into a waterfall of creative alternatives.
For in the very torrent, tempest, and as I may say, whirlwind of your passion, you must acquire and beget a temperance that may give it smoothness.
Now he has gone into the whole torrent of the years, of the souls that pass.
Resent. 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 Resent.
You resent me, but I'm not going to apologize for any success I've had.
And then all we did was resent each other and try to control each other.
I don't resent them, I've told you that.
Simultaneously, you resent Maggie for fulfilling her intimacy needs. Which
I'm an undercover agent for the FBI, doctor.
Did she resent it?
Molest. 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 Molest.
Can't sanitize this. Just saying molest isn't enough.
They tried to molest me.
You molest a child? You beat a child? You're not on my side.
Warning, do not molest me. Warning, do not molest me.
Gloomy. 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 Gloomy.
I don't think it has to be so complicated and gloomy.
Don't be gloomy, dear.
Well, it is a little gloomy, I agree.
Joe, it's so gloomy and chilly.
I am sure it's often thought the Van der Leydens is gloomy, though I've never heard it said before.
Unforeseen. 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 Unforeseen.
Barring, of course, some unforeseen event.
The committee and I are agreed that barring any unforeseen circumstances, you will be the next recipient of the Larrabee Grant.
So, as you can imagine, with a surgery of this magnitude, there were some unforeseen complications.
There may be an unforeseen mechanical failure.
Sometimes there's unforeseen situations.